Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Stop. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jayam Viṣṇu-pad-paramahaṁsā-parvājakacarya-astatara-sada Sri Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Iskcon BBT Pratishtha Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki Shri Vrindavan Dham ki Shri Mayapur Navadip ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Mai ki Jamuna Mai ki Bhakti Devi ki Tulsi Maharani ki Shri Shri Radha Parthasarthi ki Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Shri Shri Gauranitai ki Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Garanga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, somebody read the Sanskrit, please. Or do you not read it? Okay, somebody read it, word meaning. You don't have mic?
Na, not, va, are, etad, this, viṣṇudatta, O Mahārāja Parīkṣit, was protected by Lord Viṣṇu, mahad, a great, adbhutaṁ, wonder, yet, which, asambhramaḥ, lack of perplexity, sva-śiraś-chedane, when the chopping off of the head, āpatite, was about to happen. Api, even though vimukta, completely liberated from deha-ādi-ātma-bhāva, the false bodily concept of life, su-dṛḍha, very strong and tight, hṛdaya-granthīnām, of those whose knots within the heart, sarva-sattva-suhṛd-ātmanām, of person who in their hearts always wish well to all living entities, nirvairāṇāṁ, who do not find anyone as their enemy, sakshat, directly, bhagavata, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, animisha, invisible time, ari-vara, and the best of weapons, the Sudarshan Chakra, Ayudhena, by him who possesses the weapons, āpatite, not agitated at any time, tai, by those respective, bhāve, mood of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parirākṣayamanānaṁ, of a person who are protected, tat-pāda-mūlam, at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, akutaścid, from nowhere, bhayam, fear, upasrutāṇāṁ, of those who have taken complete shelter, bhagavata, of the devotees of the Lord, parama-haṁsānām, of the most liberated persons.
Did you read the previous verse? There was no purport to the previous verse? You did not read. Okay. Please read the translations, 19 and then 20.
Translation. When an envious person commits an offense before a great personality, he is always punished in the way mentioned above.
Continue,
20. Sukadeva Goswami then said to Mahārāja Parīkṣit, O viṣṇudatta, those who already know that the soul is separated from the body, who are liberated from the invisible knot in the odd, who are always engaged in welfare activities for all living entities, and who never contemplate harming anyone, are always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who carries his disc, the Sudarshan Chakra, and acts as a supreme time to kill the demons and protect his devotee. The devotees always take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, at all times, even if threatened by decapitation, they remain unagitated. For them, this is not at all wonderful. Purport. These are some of the great qualities of a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. First, a devotee is firmly convinced of his spiritual identity. He never identifies with the body. He is firmly convinced that the spirit soul is different from the body. Consequently, he fears nothing. Even though his life may be threatened, he is not at all afraid. He does not even threaten an enemy like an enemy. He does not even treat an enemy like an enemy. Such are the qualifications of the devotees. Devotees are always fully dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Lord is always eager to give them all protection in all circumstances. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 5th canto, 9th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled The Supreme Character of Jada-Bharat.
Okay, again I'm reading the translations. This is in connection with the attempt by the dacoits to kill Jada-Bharat and offer him to the goddess Kali in sacrifice. Who was here yesterday in class? So I think Sunday more people come to class, maybe haven't been following all the story. Yes, Jada-Bharat as we know, in previous lifetime was Bharat Mahārāja, was a great king and very elevated devotee. So in old age he retired from the administration of the kingdom and went to live in the forest as a vanaprastha. Performing austerities, absorbed in spiritual practice. But one day, a pregnant deer, ran past his ashram being chased by, I think, a tiger. Tiger. Not lion. By tiger, and that pregnant deer jumped across a small stream and gave birth to the shock of the whole situation. She gave birth to the baby deer and died also simultaneously. Bharat Maharaj rescued that baby deer and took to his ashram and was taking care and became very affectionate to the deer and was worrying about the deer. Is the deer safe? How to feed the deer, etc. And then death came upon him suddenly, and his thoughts were on the deer. And therefore, as Bhagavad Gita says, whatever one's consciousness is fixed on at the time of death, he attains that state in his next life. So he took birth as a deer. But it's not only a question of what one thinks of at the time of death, it's also a question of one's activities during one's life. So he had been a serious devotee whole life. So therefore, even though he took birth as a deer, he could remember his previous life, and therefore he tried to be Krishna conscious even in the deer's body, and he went to live near the ashrama of some great devotees, and he would take remnants of their prasadam and hear them chanting the names of the Lord, glorifying the Lord. So this way, activities in Krishna consciousness are never in vain. Even if one by chance is unable to remember the Lord at the time of death, still due to that steady practice throughout life, that effect is carried into the next life. So the two things, influences what the thoughts at the time of death, or the consciousness at the time of death, and the activities during one's life. You can see the opposite example in Ajamil. He is sinful throughout his life. Even though he was brought up as a Brahmin, still he fell from his Brahminical position and married a prostitute and had many children and engaged in, heinous activities to support his family, but named his son younger. Even at 85, I think he had a child who he named Narayan, and when the time of death came, the Yamadutas came to take him because of his sinful activities, and in fear he called to his son, Narayan, please help me. So it just coincidental that he chanted the name of the Lord, because he had named his son in that way, as is tradition in families in India. Jai Shri Shri Radha Partha Sarthi, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman, Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki Jai. So the Viṣṇudattas came immediately because of his chanting the name of the Lord at the time of death, and they saved him from the Yamadutas. of course, he was not sufficiently Krishna conscious to go back to Godhead then and there, but he remained in his body. By the grace of the Viṣṇudattas, he remained in his body, and then he had a change of heart, and he went to Haridwar and practiced Krishna consciousness very seriously, and then he went back to Godhead. So we can see the effect of sinful activities throughout one's life being counteracted by the chanting of the holy names at the time of death, even, coincidentally. So, but here in this case of Bharat Maharaj, pious and spiritual activities throughout his life, but coincidentally forgetfulness just at the time of death. So the two effects are there. That's why we should always practice seriously Krishna consciousness throughout our lives. Hopefully can also remember Krishna at the time of death. But we don't know the circumstances in which we will have to leave the body. So the best protection is constant chanting of the holy names of the Lord, as is mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami. Etad nirvairāṇāṁ, iccchatam akutaścid-bhayam, yoginam nripa-nirnatam, harinam anukirtanam. So he tells Parīkṣit Maharaj, O King, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from material desires, and those who are full of material desires, and those who are self-satisfied by dint of yogic practices, like Atmaramas, spiritualists, that is to say, yogis or impersonalists even. It's recommended for everyone, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Akama sarva-kama va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogina yajeta purusham param. Yes, whether one is free from material desire or full of material desire or desirous of liberation, in any case, one who has got broader intelligence should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anyhow, and the Bharat Maharaj, due to that forgetfulness at time of death, had to take birth as a deer, but not ordinary deer, Krishna-conscious deer. And in the next life, he again took human form and became the great devotee Jarabharat. Now, Jarabharat, he did not want to become entangled in ordinary social and family affairs. His father was a Brahmana and tried his best to train him. And of course he actually was imbibing the spiritual instruction, and he also had that sanskar from his previous life, that spiritual qualification. But in order to avoid entanglement in social and family affairs, he behaved as if he were a very dull person, unintelligent, and his brothers were, making fun of him, and they decided the best thing for him, the best function he could perform, was to mind the animals in the fields. So that was his duty, that was his service. So one day this band of dacoits was passing they were looking for a so-called man-animal to offer to the goddess Kali. That means a human being, but, dull, not seemingly not intelligent. So they came upon Jarbhat and thought, here's a good sample, good example, and captured him, brought him to the temple of Kali. They bathed him, they dressed him in nice clothing, they fed him sumptuously. Actually, in South America, Mexico, in ancient time, there's an Aztec tribe. Aztecs. If ever you go to Mexico, not far from Mexico City, there are ancient pyramids of the Aztecs. One pyramid in honor of the sun god, one in honor of the moon god. So their habit was to make human sacrifices on top of these pyramids. They, in battle, would capture enemy warriors. So they would select some, just like here we see the, selected, looks like very suitable offering. So similarly, they would select a strong young warrior, and for 1 year, they would let him live in a beautiful palace, 4 wives, cooking very opulent foodstuff, serving on a gold and silver plates, so he enjoy material senses to the maximum, and then he would be sacrificed. So, and there would be a very elaborate ceremony. There are different platforms at different levels, and they would, there would be a music and dancing, and come up to the first level, and then maybe cut his ears off, or next level, pluck his eyes out. Different types of grotesque ways of, preparing him, until finally at the top, then he would be sacrificed, or cut his head off, whatever. And then his body would be chopped up and served out to the to the public who witnessed the function. So it's similar here, kind of sacrifice they were planning. Fed him nicely and bathed him, fed him nicely, dressed him nicely, and then brought him in front of Kali to sacrifice, and they had very sharp swords. As they were just about to cut his head off, the deity herself jumped out. The personality of Kali jumped out from the deity, seized the swords of those dacoits, and cut all their heads off. And then she began, as it's mentioned in text 18 here, she then began to drink the hot blood that flowed from the necks of the beheaded rogues and thieves, as if this blood were liquor. Indeed, she drank this intoxicant with her associates, who were witches and female demons. Being intoxicated with this blood, they all began to sing very loudly and dance as though prepared to annihilate the entire universe. At the same time, they began to play with the heads of the rogues and thieves, tossing them about as if they were balls. So Kali and her associates had a fun time, I guess, for them. Interesting, I was reading, there's a book called Our Srila Prabhupada, A Friend to All. I don't know if any of you have seen that book. It's compiled by one of my god sisters, Mulak Prakriti Devi Dasi. This is many years ago, I think. I think she left her body already, but maybe 20 years ago or so. She interviewed god brothers of Srila Prabhupada and disciples of their god brothers who knew Prabhupada, disciple of his god brothers who knew Prabhupada, and other persons who knew Prabhupada in Vrindavan and Delhi, and in the years before he went to the West. So there's a interview with Bhakti Sundar Govinda Maharaj from Chaitanya Saraswati Math. He was a disciple of Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and actually became the acharya in that mat after the departure of Sridhar Maharaj. Anyhow, he knew Prabhupada well. After the Gaudiya mat kind of broke apart, and it broke apart very quickly. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I think he disappeared in the 1st of January 1937. And as we know, Prabhupada had written him prior to his departure, asking, I'm a grihastha, I cannot serve you like the brahmacharis and sannyasi. Please tell me how I can serve you. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati replied that preach Krishna consciousness in the English language and spread it all over the world, which is the same instruction that he gave Prabhupada actually the very first time that Prabhupada met him in 1922. Anyhow, another instruction, of course, Prabhupada once was walking with his Guru Maharaj on the banks of the Radhakund, and it was maybe 1935 or so. Not sure exact year, but Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was concerned. He had built a nice marble temple in Bagh Bazaar in Calcutta, and there was some quarreling among the senior leaders who would live in what room like that. So he said to Prabhupada, Agun Jalbi, there'll be fire in the mat, in the Gaudiya mat. He said, my desire was to print books. So he told Prabhupada, if you ever get money, print books. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, knew that he predicted that there's going to be some serious problem, breakup. And so different senior devotees started their own organizations, like Sridhar Maharaj started the Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. Actually, Prabhupada, along with Keshav Maharaj and another god brother, they also began a organization. I think it was called a Gaudiya Vedanta Samiti. Anyway, they all wanted to preach Krishna consciousness, but due to the, breakup of the mat, they couldn't work together combinedly. Anyway, Sridhar Maharaj was staying in Mayapur, but Prabhupada wanted him to come out and preach. Prabhupada was then living in Calcutta, and he had 2 houses. He was renting 2 houses side by side. In one house lived with his family. In the other house he had his laboratory on the ground floor. But he offered to Sridhar Maharaj, you please stay upstairs, you can use as a preaching center. So they used to come then, Sridhar Maharaj and others from Calcutta, from Mayapur, and stay there. So Govinda Maharaj then, and he joined sometime there in the 1940s, and he would also stay there. And he said, I was studying Sanskrit, and I was a brahmachari. So he said Prabhupada used to arrange all kinds of preaching programs, and he said he would make me sit on the Vyasasan because he said I had saffron cloth. And the sentiment of the Bengali public is to offer great respect to the saffron cloth and don't take the white cloth so seriously. So he said Prabhupada would sit on the floor. But he said, I didn't know how to give a lecture, he said. I was just a student of Sanskrit. I didn't know how to give a lecture. Prabhupada said, you sit on the Vyasasan and you read the verse. He said, then I'll take care of the rest. So he'd just read the verse, and Prabhupada sitting on the floor, he would give the whole lecture like that. So in that way he was a very expert in how to preach in time, place, and circumstance, Srila Prabhupada. But anyhow, Govinda Maharaj also recalls how, Prabhupada would preach, and people would say that we worship Kali. And Prabhupada would say to them, well, Kali has got many demonic associates, and she likes to drink blood and dance with her demonic associates. He said, so if you want, you can worship Kali. But he said, our Krishna lives in Vrindavan, and he's always playing with his cowherd boyfriends and girlfriends and eating butter and yogurt and all kinds of nice preparations cooked by Mother Yasoda and Radharani like that. So we prefer to worship Krishna. There's also in that memory, in his memories, also in Sridhar Maharaj's memories, he describes how, one night they were sleeping in that upstairs rooms where they were staying, and one night there was a loud banging on the door. I think it was about 55, 56, loud banging on the door, and they opened, and Prabhupada said to Sridhar Maharaj, I just had a dream of my Guru Maharaj. He ordered me to take sannyas. So please give me sannyas. And Sridhar Maharaj, he knew the whole family, the Days, the Maliks. He didn't want to be accused of, taking away the Abai, Babu from his family. So he said, okay, look, wait for some time, prepare yourself, maybe, take, what is it, this Kutichak. There are 4 levels of sannyasa: Kutichak, Bahudak, Parvajakachari, Paramahaṁsānām. So Kutichak means, the man, when his children are growing up, he may go live in a kutir on the outside of the village, and the family members will bring him his prasadam. So gradually, he's getting a bit detached, and then next day to Bahudak, he doesn't accept the food anymore from his family. Rather, he'll beg door to door around the village. But still, he's not. He's nearby. If they want, they can come and see him. Then Parvajakacharya goes traveling away, renounced the family, and by spiritual practice reaches paramahansa level. Mahārāja Parīkṣit was already a paramahansa. He was not at all attached to the family affairs and didn't want to get involved. That's why he behaved as if he were a dull person. So anyway, Sridhar Maharaj advised, no, maybe like that. Prepare yourself gradually. After a few months, again in a night, loud banging on the door, again, Prabhupada, Abhay Babu, same dream, my spiritual master forcefully ordered me, you must take sannyas. Give me sannyas immediately. Well, Sridhar Maharaj, again, he was hesitant, He said, I don't want to be, blamed by your family. You take sannyas from Keshav Maharaj in Mathura. So, anyway, Prabhupada went back, to his house. But the next morning there was a commotion in a neighboring house. Prabhupada, he had left in the early morning, in the night. Took nothing with him, no clothes, no baggage, no money, nothing, just disappeared. So that was their memories of how Srila Prabhupada took sannyas. Anyhow, interesting book. So yes, here I'm just reading again this translation. So when an envious person commits an offense before a great personality, he's always punished in the way mentioned above. Shukadeva Goswami then said to Mahārāja Parīkṣit, O viṣṇu-datta, those who already know that the soul is separate from the body, who are liberated from the invincible knot in the heart, who are always engaged in welfare activities for all living entities and who never contemplate harming anyone, are always protected by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who carries his disk to Sudarshan Chakra and acts as supreme time to kill the demons and protect his devotees. The devotees always take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Therefore, at all times, even if threatened by decapitation, they remain unagitated. For them, this is not at all wonderful. So the Vaishnavas are very dear to the Lord. And as we know, the greatest offense against chanting the holy names, the first offense, the mad elephant offense, offending the Vaishnavas, blaspheming the Vaishnavas, criticizing the Vaishnavas. There's very serious repercussions. Just like mad elephant, if it goes in a garden, it'll destroy everything. Once I read in Assam, in some village, they prepared this home-brewed alcohol. South India, they call toddy. I don't know what it's called in the north. Dari. Tari. They had some big barrels there in the village, and a herd of elephants came, and all drank up all this alcohol, including the baby elephants. They also, all intoxicated, destroyed the whole village. So, mad elephant cannot control, is very dangerous. So similarly, this offense to the Vaishnavas is known as the mad elephant offense. Should be avoided at all costs, and we can see in this case how these dacoits were punished for There's mad elephant defense, trying to harm and kill a great Vaishnava. Kali, of course, is actually, even though she has demonic associates, she herself is a great devotee. Shiva, Lord Shiva, also a great devotee, but he does associate, with ghosts, hobgoblins. But, he is their master, and he's not affected by them. Kali also. So, being a great devotee, she killed these rascals. So the devotees, they're friends of all living entities, and they don't contemplate harming anyone. There's a famous verse in third canto spoken by Lord Kapila Dev, Tatikshava Karunika Suridam Sarvadehinam Ajata Sadrava Shantam Sadava Sadabhushanam, that a devotee is tolerant, may tolerate all kinds of difficulties in practicing and spreading Krishna consciousness, and a devotee is merciful, likes to help others. It's like Prahlad Maharaj, and Sringadev asked him what benediction you would like. He said, for myself, I don't need anything. Just happy to be your servant. But please forgive my father. He was merciful even to his father, who was a great demon. Suridam, Sarvadehinam. The devotees are well-wisher, friend of all living entities. Dehina, Prabhupada said, it not only human beings, but all embodied beings. The devotee is a well-wisher of all. So devotee, they will give prasadam to animals also, chant Hare Krishna for their benefit also. Just like Shivananda Sen, we know the story, as he was organizing the Bengali devotees who would go every year to Puri to associate with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during Rath Yatra festival. And one year, as they were walking, a dog joined the party, and he was feeding the dog with prasadam. Even the ferryman refused to take the dog across the river. He paid extra. Then one day the dog disappeared, and he was feeling that he had made some offense. He fasted the rest of the way to Puri, but when they reached Puri, they saw the same dog sitting beside Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was feeding the dog with a coconut pulp. And suddenly the dog took forearm form and went back to Godhead. Huh? So we see that the Lord is merciful, and the Lord's devotees are merciful. Ajata Satrava Santa, the devotee has no enemies, he's peaceful, and always abides by the scriptures. These are the qualification or ornaments, the characteristics of a devotee. And in the purport, Prabhupada also mentions Haridas Thakur and Jesus Christ. He says that, Haridas Thakur, he was beaten in 22 marketplace, beaten mercilessly. But, he was undisturbed. He was just chanting the names of the Lord. In fact, those persons who were beating him, they finally begged him, please die or we'll be punished by the Qazi. And so finally he feigned death, and they threw his body in the Ganga. Because the Qazi said he is not worthy of a proper burial as per the Islamic traditions. So just throw his body in the Ganga. like other Hindus or something like that. So you thrown into the Ganga, and he just floated down and then got out again, began chanting. Later it's described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, the same Kazi, he saw Haridas again. And this time, he offered his respect. He realized that he's a great devotee of the Lord, which would have saved him, no doubt, from the reactions of his offenses. And of course, Jesus Christ was sacrificed, was nailed to a cross, a slow kind of death, painful, slow, but he was a God conscious. And as the Bible described it, they buried him in a cave, I think it was. But after a few days, he rose again, isn't it? I don't know the whole story. I haven't really studied a Christian religion in any depth. But anyhow, these examples Prabhupada gives how the devotees don't, they don't think of harming anyone, and they're unafraid for themselves, even if they're threatened to be killed, because they're on the spiritual platform. But anybody who harms a devotee, he can expect to get some severe reaction. So therefore we should always respect the Vaishnavas and associate with the Vaishnavas and hear from the Vaishnavas and befriend the Vaishnavas, serve Krishna together with the Vaishnavas. This is the perfect position, at least as perfect as one can find in this world. This world we're having a temporary body, and there are various kinds of miseries, adi-atmic, adi-daivik, adi-bhotik. But the devotee tolerates and remains fixed on the spiritual platform. Therefore, most likely will go back to the spiritual world after leaving this body, or if not, Krishna will give him some more service here in this material world. The devotee will happy to go wherever he said. As Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "My dear Lord, don't mind even if I have to take birth again, even as an insect. But," he said, "please let it be in the house of a devotee." So he could get some grains of prasad or hear the devotees chanting the holy names. So, sadhu sangha, sarva-shastri-koil, labhamatra sadhu sangha, sarva-siddhi hoy. Even a moment's association with a Vaishnava can give one all perfection. And Srila Prabhupada, actually, he gave the example of his meeting, his first meeting with his spiritual master, as evidence of that verse. Just a moment's association with a great sadhu like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur transformed his life. And as a result, he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. We all have the opportunity also to practice Krishna consciousness. So, therefore, we must always remain grateful to such great personalities, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Okay, any question, comment? Okay, thank you. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari